Gary James Daichendt, EDD, is an art critic, art historian, and art educator. He is the author of several books, one of which earned him the nickname of Professor Street Art. He has written numerous academic and popular publications and is chief editor of the art education journal, Visual Inquiry, Learning and Teaching Art. Everything on all publications is G. James Daichendt, but he goes by Jim. He earned 2 graduate degrees from Boston and Harvard universities. He earned a doctorate degree from Columbia University, and from it came his first book, Artist Teacher, A Philosophy for Creating and Teaching, 2010. Currently, Daichendt is dean, professor, and a vice provost at Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego, California. He is 47 years old, has been married for 25 years, and is father to 3 children. In 1975, in a town called Youngstown, Ohio, Gary James Daichendt Jr. was born. His father was an engineer and then worked as a salesperson, while his mother was a stay-at-home mom. He grew up mostly in the Midwest and East Coast. His parents moved about every 3 years, so he had to adjust and reinvent himself a few times in different states and cities. From Michigan to Illinois to Massachusetts, these were some of the states where he primarily grew up. Naturally, he had to figure out his own way in each of those places, including making friends. Despite the constant changes, Daichendt had very supportive parents. Among a family vested in the field of business and math, he was the lone person that was interested in the arts. Through it all, his interest in the arts stayed consistent. He loved drawing and generally creating. Whether it was paper or other materials like toys, he would create his own world as he engaged in everyday child play. To him, drawing was fun. Despite knowing very little about the arts, Daichendt's parents encouraged his interests. He looked for ways to continue involving himself with the arts. He took drawing lessons, after-school classes in art, and simply made time for it, even through high school. In addition to art, Daichendt was also involved in sports. He played 3 sports most of his life through grade school and high school, particularly football. He was so involved in sports that he played football in college. He attended Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois, for his freshman year. During a visit to his parents' home in Northern California, he learned about the new football coach and scholarship opportunities at Azusa Pacific University. Daichendt looked into it, and after a call and a road trip to the campus in Southern California, he ended up transferring to APU his sophomore year. His football coach, Victor Shealy, became a mentor to him in every extent of the word. Initially, Daichendt declared a major in communication, but was quickly put off since it was unlike what he imagined. He expected it to be more like graphic design and advertising as it relates to communication, but it ended up being the study of rhetoric. Daichendt realized he was most passionate about the visual arts in general and made the decision to pursue it. Thanks to his encouraging and supportive upbringing, he did not think twice about changing majors. He earned a Bachelor of Arts in Studio Art at Azusa Pacific University, California. Although he was studying the visual arts, he had not thought ahead as to the kind of job he would acquire. He figured he would eventually find something practical along the way that would allow him to use his resource, his talent. However, his love for drawing and creating made him seek out other potential jobs. While taking classes in college, he also took classes at the Animation Institute in Hollywood, California, thinking he would become an animator since he loved animation. In particular, he loved the process of drawing. His goal was to become better at it. At the Institute, he learned the different components of doing hand-drawn animation. In fact, before he graduated, he interviewed for the TV show Family Guy in hopes of landing a job in one of their art departments. But life had other plans for Daichendt. Instead, he was offered a job for an international animation company to do storyboards, but at the same time, also offered a position to be a high school art teacher. In 1998, he accepted the teaching position and felt he was passionate about it since he loved working with the students. Even though he loved the role and thought it was fun to work with grade schoolers, he did not see himself in this role long term. With 2 years' experience at Pinewood School in Northern California, Daichendt realized he wanted to get more education and learn more about teaching. He felt he could be a better teacher, so this led him to take night classes at San Jose State University in San Jose, California. These classes and education ignited his interest in pursuing a graduate degree in art education. Boston University became his first choice since they offered a Master of Fine Arts, which was rare. While expecting his first child, his wife was supportive in his quest to get the art education background he longed for, while at the same time focusing on his artistic process. Eventually, Daichendt earned 2 master's degrees, focused on museum studies and art theory from Boston and Harvard universities. He was so committed to his studies that he graduated from a 2-year program in 1 year at Boston University. Later attending Harvard University, he felt he gained a perfect combination of practical, hands-on, and conceptual experiences from both institutions. From his interest in museum studies, he pursued a doctorate degree in arts research at Columbia University. Soon after he graduated, he moved back to Southern California since he was offered a faculty position at Azusa Pacific University. There, he taught courses in art history, ran the gallery program, and established 2 master's programs. Mentors John Baldacchino and Graham Sullivan were influential throughout Daichendt's career. Baldacchino helped ignite the curiosity to write a book, and Sullivan as an artist researcher. They are colleagues and they are active in the field. The first book he wrote, Artist Teacher, A Philosophy for Creating and Teaching, published in 2010, came about from his doctoral research. His focus of study was on the history of art education, how art has been taught over time. The more he studied it, the more he felt about where he situated himself in history in terms of who has taught him and where he fit within the lineage of art education. This was important to him because it presented a great way to better understand his own profession. In studying and teaching art education history, he came across the term artist teacher, which he was fascinated with. He had heard several graduate students at Harvard referring to themselves as an artist teacher and became curious about it. He found that George Wallace, who lived in England during the 19th century, was the first person who referred to themselves as artist teacher. This drove him into doing more historical research. Eventually, Daichendt did his dissertation on George Wallace, writing a full biography. When he graduated from Columbia University, he hoped to turn that initial research into a helpful book. If anyone was doing research on the term artist teacher, the history of that idea, and the concept of artists embedding their own philosophy for making into their teaching, that they would reference his book in doing that. Daichendt finds one of the most important concepts he hopes a public high school art teacher can get from reading his book is to never lose their identity of who they are as an artist. He believes they should be able to keep that passion alive through practice, whether it is sketching, painting, and the like. He refers to that creative aspect as the juice and inspiration that got them into the art world or interested in studying art education. He hopes his readers learn to be reflective of the unique traits and processes they use in their studio and how they make work, and that they can model their curriculum and their classroom off those skill sets and those strengths that they have as an artist. After all, artist teacher means that their teaching is informed by their artistic processes. A constructivist at heart, Daichendt identifies strongly with the philosopher John Dewey. A book by John Dewey, Art as Experience, has been particularly influential. As someone who is interested in aesthetics, Daichendt subscribes to a lot of Dewey's ideas. One being creating experiences in the classroom. He describes an experience as something that has a beginning and an end. The art is not what is on the wall. The art happens when you engage what is on the wall. He urges the moment one starts asking questions and engaging back and forth, that art is existing in that relationship and that exchange. The moment one reflects on it, the experience ends. Life is a series of these experiences that start and end. As professor and lecturer in art education, Daichendt tries to create certain experiences in his classroom with individual artworks, trying to facilitate that dialogue with students. He hopes to empower students to do that on their own and give them as many tools and skills so they are able to do that. He tries to model as much as possible to help students walk through how to look, think, and reflect about art in deep and meaningful ways. Further, this experience can be so transformative in students' own life and other people's lives. More specifically, Daichendt explains constructivists as constructing knowledge together. He and his students are building this knowledge base together. He is not the sole expert trying to download information into these minds that are open. Instead, they are coming together as a group, and together they are going to figure it out. Daichendt has always been interested in growth, reflecting, and wanting to know why. He considers it unfortunate that a lot of educators do not realize how the philosophies, ideas, and theories are informing their teaching. He believes that usually the way you teach is just a product of what you were taught yourself. According to Daichendt, if you were to dissect every single one of your professors and pull back to some larger philosophies, we would probably understand them a lot better and be in a better position to understand who you want to be as a teacher. In his current administrative position as vice provost and dean, he oversees all of the academics at the university, so his philosophy is generalized in that he wants relevant education for students' lives. Through the increase of diversity of students coming to the university, Daichendt seeks practical, relevant education and is interested in developing the whole person. One of the reasons he chose a faith-based school as an undergrad and why he still is passionate about what he does at Point Loma is that he believes there is more to life than just working or feeding into his discipline. There is a higher calling in life. He hopes to help students figure out what that is for them and where God is calling them in their lives if they are a person of faith. If they are not, he hopes they find a purpose that is bigger than themselves and why they are doing it. They need a why. He hopes their lives are transformed, hence the importance of developing the whole person. Currently, Daichendt serves as Dean of the Colleges, Professor of Art History, and Vice Provost for Traditional Undergraduate Studies at Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego, California. He also teaches for Boston University online. His title is Lecturer in Art Education. His faith and relationship with God is central to everything he does. He is a man of God and someone who loves his family. His parents, wife, and 3 children have been very supportive of him. He hopes others see him as someone who loves helping others see the world in a new way. All the books, all the teaching boils down to helping people see things in a new way.